It wants to load up.
There we go. Got the notification.
All right, what is up, everybody? This is Kyle and Mike from the Fantasy Phenom. We are back to recap Sunday's split 4-game slate and look ahead to Monday's, 9-game slate now? 9-game?
Another 9 games, yep. Let's do it.
I'm outside tonight because I'm going to be smoking a cigar, and Missy doesn't like me smoking in the house, so I understand.
Yeah, it's Kyle's birthday. Everybody give him a happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. How
birthday cigar?
It is. Actually, my buddy actually bought this for me for my birthday, so I figured I told him I would light it up for him, and why not?
Yeah, why not? How is it?
It's pretty good, man. It has a nice hint of vanilla in it. It's my favorite flavor, by the way, so he knows me. Let's get drunk. Nice. Well, shit, Mike. How did you do tonight?
I played light. Today was my last day of work this weekend, and so being that it was a split 4-game slate, and there was two. You had to play either a 2-game early, a 2-game late slate. I generally don't put a lot of money into those slates anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just played one line. I played kind of light and messed with it a little bit. And it turned out pretty well. I probably should have played more money tonight, honestly. See,
I profited $13 tonight. I was pretty proud of myself. You know what sucks is at one point I was winning $450 from the Phoenix-Toronto game. And Kyle Lowry and Bledsoe were going off, and then Kyle Lowry just fell off in the second half. But I was like, all right, I'm good. I was in 7th place in a GPP, and I was sitting there, and I was like, you know what? I got four players left from the main slate. I had Fareed, Levine, Wiggins, and Chandler. And I knew not having Cat would hurt, but I was like, all right, I'm good. Fareed got 2 points.
Yeah, no, that's what happened. I was playing a couple of head-to-heads, and one of the guys went up to in the head-to-head when the lineups came out. I was like, damn, he stacked the late game, and I had a lot of Bledsoe. Right in my lineup, I had Bledsoe and Chandler, and this is on DraftKings, so I had Towns too, but I thought he was gonna have Jokic, and he didn't have any Jokic, and he stacked the the Minnesota side, and ended up winning.
You ended up winning?
Yeah, because he had Levine, Wiggins.
I was gonna say the only one that went off.
The only people
that went off for Minnesota was Towns. Wiggins had a decent game.
And Dunn.
Oh, Dunn did too. Yeah, I forgot about Dunn.
And those are the 2 guys that I had, so it worked out.
Yeah, Levine, I don't know what's up with him right now, man. This is a prime matchup against Denver, and he couldn't do shit.
Yeah, I don't know either. I watched the second half of that game, and it was just them feeding the ball to Towns.
It was. That's
the
all.
Dude can do it. The dude can do whatever he wants right now.
And here's what sucks, man, is I was in position to win just my money back, right, from that GPP. At the end of the game, Wilson Chandler hit a couple shots, and it put me back in the money. And then I lost by 4 because Karl Anthony Towns hit that last shot, and then I didn't have him, and I didn't have Dunn, who the other guy behind me also had, and they had the last 2 shots, of course.
Yeah, overall, those are the first 3 players I put in my lineup were Bledsoe, Towns, and Dunn, and obviously it worked out tonight.
Yeah. I thought Lowry would have a much better game. Phoenix on a back-to-back, but
he got ejected in the second half. That's what happened.
Well, he got ejected with 19 seconds left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had all the second half to play, and he just sucked.
And he just didn't do anything?
Yeah, he was terrible. So, well, shit, all right. I guess let's dive in here, man. We got 9 games to cover, of course.
Yeah, it's split on DraftKings. I know they haven't come out with the slates on Fan Duel yet, but on DraftKings there's a main with 9, and then there's 2 4-game slates. What
game does it cut out?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking right now. Man, I just exited out. So yeah, the Turbo slate's the 7:30 games, and those are Golden State, Miami, Clippers, Atlanta, Spurs, Nets, Kings, and Pistons. And then the late slate think that's what they're calling it. Yeah, the late slate are 4 games that start at 8, and so that's also going to include the game that starts at 9. So the only game that's cutting out is the 7 o'clock game, which I believe is New York, Indiana.
Yeah, that's one of my. I actually have some players from that game though that I'm eyeing though, so I don't know if I could cut that out. Like when I look at
people know.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking. When we're looking at games that we want to stack tomorrow, I love that game. Obviously, Brooklyn and San Antonio, and then Houston, Milwaukee gets consideration.
Yeah, I'd be really into stacking that New York Pacers game, but I don't know what's going on with New York right now. I can't put any of my faith into rostering any Knicks right now, just because they're just when we thought they were going to do something different and going small. KP6 comes back and it'll add to their small lineup. Then they just go back to playing Noah and Courtney Lee for 35 minutes, and it's just what I can't gauge what they're trying to do.
See, I'm okay. I wasn't really looking at anyone on New York anyway, so I'm okay with that. Like, I'm cool with chilling on the Indiana side. But all right, well, let's look at some of these point guards here. We got Cleveland, New Orleans, Kyrie, Drew Holiday. Neither point guard is great at defense. Where are we looking?
Sorry, say that again. You cut out.
I was saying Cleveland and Cleveland and New Orleans. Neither of these point guards are good defenders. Who are we looking at and why?
I don't know that I'm looking at either necessarily on this slate tomorrow. Last time these two teams played, it was kind of ugly game, and neither of them really exceeded value.
Mm-hmm.
I would be kind of looking at Kyrie. He's coming off a really nice game in a tough matchup with the Spurs, but that was an overtime game, which kind of inflated the stats a little bit, and I don't really see the New Orleans backcourt as someone that I really like to go after. I don't know. Are you feeling Kyrie tomorrow?
I'm not. I'm feeling LeBron tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go LeBron if I was going to pay up in that game. The high-priced point guards on this slate all have some question marks, in my opinion.
I prefer the mid-range guys, the 7 to 8K guys on this slate. I was looking at it.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of unusual. Usually, you at least have one guy that's 8K and above that is a lock,
I mean, obviously, the first thing I look to is John Wall, and obviously Russell Westbrook, but I don't like them enough, I guess I could say.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They'll have some question marks, and there's some high-priced studs that are in really good spots tomorrow that I'm looking at.
All right, what about Steph Curry against Miami, or the opposite, Dragic or Johnson?
Steph is kind of establishing a nice floor as of late. Because there's so much talent on that team, it's hard for him or anybody to really have this crazy high ceiling game, but he's really has established somewhat of a nice floor after a rocky start to the season. So I guess if you're thinking about cash game play, he's in a good spot against Dragic, and I think he gets close to that 45 points tomorrow.
Okay. He definitely has picked it up. He had, I think, 47 today? 37.
Yeah, he's hovering around that 40-point mark,
I still like Durant more if I'm going to pick someone from this game, though.
Yeah, it's solid. It's only 1,000 more, might as well.
Pat Bev and Dellavedova cancel out to me. I don't like Brogdon. I don't like any point guard from that game. At least no listed point guard. We know Harden and Giannis are the true ones.
Right. Yeah, so they're the actual point guards, but they don't really see the ball that much. It's worth noting, I think, that I agree with you. I think it is kind of a wash. They're both defensive-minded guys that don't have the ball much. They're very similar, like you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is worth noting that, Beverly did have a good game against Milwaukee at home what was that, like a week ago? Probably less.
That was Brogdon, though. That was Brogdon, though. Remember, not Dellavedova.
Yeah, it was Brogdon playing. I mean, they are still splitting time, in my opinion. I just think it's worth noting that he did have a great game and piled up some defensive numbers in that game.
No, that's fair. Okay. Usually we would say this is a bad matchup, but no Chris Paul. Is Dennis Schroeder in play at home against LA?
I think he is definitely in play. I don't really see any of those three, or Rivers or Felton, as elite defenders. Obviously Schroeder's the high usage guy on that team. And I think without Blake and Paul, I feel like the Clippers' overall defensive numbers go down. I think they allow a lot more possessions and points to their opposition. So I think he's in play for those reasons.
There's another channel that just came on.
What channel?
Chris Fan Duel help. He came on and called us fags. I think he likes our channel, likes our content.
Chris Fan Duel help. Where did you get that name?
So I appreciate the love, man. Thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah, if you need any artwork, let me know.
All right, so here's one of my favorite point guard plays is Jeff Teague tomorrow. And I know he had a bad game against LA. I think he has a bounce back game against New York. He's in a good situation.
Oh, Jeff
Teague, yeah.
I think so too, and I think he's a really when you're talking about tournament plays and gauging people's ceiling, I think his ceiling tomorrow is intriguing. I think he's a great pivot off of some of the other guys that are the other higher priced guys.
Well, that's what like when we were saying the mid range guys like Jeff Teague is probably. I like him a lot. I like Dragic against Curry. And then the next one I really like is George Hill, and we're right there. But
yeah, no. So with Jeff Teague, I mean, going against this New York team, anything's on the table. This team is terrible defensively, and this guy is kind of on like the best streak of his season right now. His price is, does show that it reflects the streak he's kind of on.
He's the highest priced guy on the Pacers.
It's nice to know, comparing him and Paul George, for example. We know what Paul George's ceiling is. We just haven't seen it in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Teague's ceiling we've seen last week. So to me, if you're rostering people based on like what they can possibly do, I'm more comfortable going Teague against Rose.
I agree with that. And then you definitely could go the other way as well. You could go Rose against Teague. Teague is not a great defender, but I feel more comfortable going Teague and paying up for that.
Yeah, Rose is a little bit better on DraftKings with his price. And he had an okay game against Bledsoe, but I'm indifferent with the Rose pick. I think I don't hate it. I don't love it. I definitely think you can attack Jeff Teague. We've seen that as well. So if you fall to Rose, I don't hate it. But it's just lineup construction,
I agree. Okay, so we talked about George Hill. Russell Westbrook obviously is always in play.
Yeah, Russ is cheapest I've seen in a long time on DraftKings is 11.5. So that's intriguing to me, but I think I stay away against Utah. I'm smart.
I like Westbrook just because he's matchup proof, but I do agree. I think the game is slowed down a little bit with Utah, and I don't think he has as much ability to hit his ceiling.
Yeah, and we're talking his ceiling is all based on how many possessions he gets on the offensive end of the game. Because, in order for him to get where he needs to get, it's just tough for me to think that he gets to his ceiling against Utah.
I agree with that.
So what's your take on George Hill, though?
I love George Hill against Westbrook. I love rostering point guards against Westbrook. He's a terrible defender.
No, I agree.
So I love George Hill. I can go George Hill and Jeff Teague all day.
Yeah, I like George Hill a little bit more. Without Rodney Hood, obviously. I think the last few games, the production really hasn't been focused in the backcourt for Utah.
Mm-hmm.
He's becoming more of a facilitator than, relying upon him taking 15 shots. So there is that to consider as well.
It's true. I'm not looking at anyone. Tony Parker's already out, so I mean Patty Mills maybe, but I'd rather go Murray. Um, from the Brooklyn side, no thank you. And then Sack Detroit. Reggie Jackson, Darren Collison, Ty Lawson, any of them?
So with the Brooklyn San Antonio game, there's obviously a lot to be said about value, and we'll continue every position probably on this slate. We'll have probably a value play from that game. Patty Mills over, you said Murray over Mills, right?
I would definitely go Murray over Mills. I think Murray's proven. Here's the thing, though. The thing with Murray is he has a short leash. He's very raw as a player, and so and we know Pop. He'll have no problem pulling Murray if he struggles, but he has a good matchup against Brooklyn.
I believe this is the first of a back-to-back for them.
San Antonio?
To that.
Oh, yeah, the first of it. Okay, I got you.
Don't hold me to that. I don't know why it just came to mind. Maybe I read that somewhere today. However, I have seen that Manu is questionable.
Interesting. I don't have
his lower back.
I don't have him on the injury report. I was looking at that.
He left his last game early. I think he left like late in the last game. He pulled something in his back, so he's listed as questionable. So that could open up some more minutes in this backcourt.
Well, then I think you have to look at Danny Green.
I don't think Danny Green gets more minutes. Green's been getting 28 to 30 minutes anyway. So I just think that's why Patty Mills is more in consideration than.
Okay, so you like Patty Mills if Ginobili doesn't play?
I don't necessarily like him or Murray, to be honest with you. I think there's other value you can look at. It's not going to be as chalky. I was just letting everybody else know that with Ginobili possibly being out, there's minutes to be had, for sure.
So you don't like Murray against Brooklyn's terrible offense or terrible defense?
No, just because of how chalky it's going to be.
Okay.
I do like it, yes, but from an ownership perspective,
okay.
I think
I see what you're saying.
Fading is a pretty good consideration in my opinion.
Okay, I see where you're going now. Washington and Charlotte should be a high-paced game. John Wall obviously is in a good spot. Kemba Walker is in a decent spot. I like John Wall more than Kemba. I think John Wall plays better defense than Kemba.
Yeah, well, if you look there, Kemba's the same price as Teague. So that's really the decision. If you are deciding to pay up elsewhere, like say you are going LeBron or you're going Boogie or you're going Giannis, you're paying at another position instead of starting at point guard. You perhaps are going to come into this dilemma tomorrow on Fan Duel between Kemba and Teague. So all things considered, when you just think of the on-court matchup, I like Teague versus Rose over Walker versus Wall.
I agree with that completely. And Teague is less priced. I think Teague scores more than Walker tomorrow.
Is Teague less priced?
He's 7,500.
Okay. Yeah, let me look at the prices on DraftKings because I thought they were the same on DraftKings. Kemba's at 81 and Teague's at 77, so it's similar.
So
can we both agree that we like both of those over Kyrie tomorrow?
100%. I'm not touching Kyrie tomorrow. I usually, you would consider a Cleveland stack. Kyrie, LeBron, and Love are usually pretty safe, but I just don't like Kyrie tomorrow over the other point guards, especially not at 8,100. I'd rather play Kemba over Kyrie, like you were saying.
Right. Yeah. So in that trio, I think Kyrie's the last one that we would like.
Shooting guards from Cleveland, I think Shumpert and Korver can get some consideration if you're looking at value. I think shooting guard is the value spot tomorrow, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's where I'm looking. I don't know how it's going to all shake out, but I think that Shumpert is the primary pivot off of Murray tomorrow.
I can see that for 4,000.
However, there's also the narrative. I mean, Murray's playing for a job. He's playing for not only a job this year, but Parker is not getting any younger.
Well, yeah.
So he's also trying to use these couple games to prove himself to this franchise.
No, I agree. I mean, they drafted him for a reason, right?
And he's got a great matchup too. So there's caution in fading him.
I'm not looking at any New Orleans shooting guards. I just don't know. I can't trust that situation right now. The minute situation, the playing situation, and Tyreek is too expensive for being on a minute limit.
Yeah, those 5, man. No thanks.
Klay Thompson on a back-to-back. I don't like Klay enough. Deion Waiters is playing small forward. I don't like him against Kevin Durant.
So like you said, this is like the value spot of the night. The shooting guard, right? So again, from an ownership perspective, I think it's worth noting some of the mid-priced guys that are in good spots, and I think Klay is one of those. Not to say that I really like him over some of the other guys, but he's in consideration in my opinion. I think we got Deion Waiters' game out of the way, and I'd rather play Dragic tomorrow.
James Harden and Giannis both dropped a 50 burger last time they played each other. I have both of them projected to score around 52 to 53 points tomorrow. Could you start a lineup with both of them?
I think I saved $1,000 and take Giannis. I don't think you could play both of them. You can't on DraftKings for sure.
Okay, so on FanDuel you definitely could, but would you, I guess, is the question.
I wouldn't, no.
Okay.
I don't make enough lineups to go that.
Yeah.
Play that many scrubs, you know? What's your take on this Clippers backcourt?
I still like JJ Redick.
I know we had a heated discussion. We had a heated discussion last night.
Yeah. I'd still like Redick more than Crawford.
Redick to me is lost without Chris Paul. He seems very sad without him.
Here's the thing: he started really nice in the first quarter last game against Denver, and then fell off. He had like 15 points at the end of the first, and then scored 9 points the rest of the game.
Well, that's true to form, in my opinion, with JJ. He's always been a first quarter guy.
I remember you telling me that. You're like, JJ's good for the first quarter, and then he falls off.
I don't know. So between Rivers and I know this is going back to point guard, but this is a dilemma I looked at. Between Rivers and Felton on DraftKings, they're both, to me, a little bit overpriced. I think they're both high 5s.
Okay.
But in a good spot against Atlanta. I think all the backcourt members are in a good spot against Atlanta. So if you had to rank those 4 guys between Redick, Crawford, Felton, and Rivers, how would you rank them?
I think I have to go Rivers. And I hate Rivers. I think he's fucking terrible. But he gets the most minutes, and of course Doc loves him, so he's going to play him. And this is a perfect opportunity for him to play his son.
I agree completely. I would take Rivers out of all 4. I didn't think we were going to agree there. I thought we were going to give some heated discussion there.
I hate Rivers, but for that purpose. Okay.
So they played Courtney Lee 35 minutes again last game. You playing him?
I can't trust that. Again, another situation like New Orleans. I can't trust it.
Hell no. I'm not going anywhere near that shooting guard spot.
I'm not playing Monte Ellis against New York. I know it's a good matchup. I'm not doing it.
No, me neither.
Oladipo against Utah. No, thank you.
See, I think Oladipo's another guy. I think him, Clay, and Gordon are all pretty fairly priced at mid-price on shooting guard to get away from some of the value if you want to go more balanced.
Mm-hmm. Someone just mentioned Pacers suck against shooting guard. They absolutely suck against shooting guard, but I don't know which shooting guard is going to play for the Knicks. It's Justin Holiday. Is it Courtney Lee? Are they going to play Brandon Jennings a lot? I don't know what's going to go on with that Knicks situation, so I just can't do it.
Yeah, David, they went from like 20 minutes between Holiday, Baker, Jennings, and Lee. I think they all play in the low 20s over the past 3 games, and then last game, Brandon Jennings saw 5 minutes of the court, and we saw 35 minutes of Courtney Lee.
Exactly. So I don't
know. It's like Joakim Noah came back, and they're like, we can finally play the same shitty starting 5 that we sucked with all year long.
Okay, so again, I like Murray, and if Ginobili plays, I love Ginobili against Brooklyn.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I'm cautioned with San Antonio on a back-to-back, especially since they're hurting.
They're on the first leg of a back-to-back.
Yeah, but they're playing Brooklyn. Like I feel like
so they might rest.
Yeah, I feel like Manu's prime candidate, especially he left the game early. If he plays, yes, I completely agree with you. But I'm kind of scared away from that play.
I love Murray regardless. I can see Murray in all of my lineups.
Joe Harris is out again tomorrow, so we
Kilpatrick.
or tonight. So we'll probably see Kilpatrick starting again. He played well,
He did.
starting role, but it's up and down with him.
Over 6 times value.
Danny Green, I think, is an underrated defender. So there's that to consider as well.
Bullock against Sacramento. He's going to be going up against Garrett Temple. I'm not really feeling that matchup. I can't guess when he's going to hit. I know it's a good matchup, but there's other value that I'd rather look at.
Yeah, I feel like Temple has become the guy that
he is. He's going to take over for Rudy Gay.
Not even that. Just before Gay was out, I feel like he's slowly become the perimeter defender on this team. Like he's drawing.
Oh, I got you.
The better backcourt member. So do you think perhaps he draws Reggie in this game on defense?
Yes, I do.
So if he draws Reggie, then
Marcus Morris.
Perhaps we could see some Bullock getting like Collison, which made me like him a little bit better. And like you said, the shooting guard is where everyone's paying down to, so throw him in that pool, in my opinion.
Not looking at anyone from SAC. Not looking at Temple. Nick Batum is in a great spot tomorrow against Washington, and so is Bradley Beal, in my opinion. But I would rather pay up to Batum than pay $6,700 for Beal.
Yeah, Batum, he's ultra consistent. He's a great safe play on the shooting guard slate if you end up having some extra salary, just because he provides peripheral scoring.
He
doesn't need to score. And so if he doesn't score, he might not make it to value, but he'll get you close enough. I just want to point this.
Safe floor.
Yeah, because of all those numbers that he can put up. And I just want to point this out about Bradley Beal. In his last 3 games, he is 1 for 21 from 3-point range. And that's his game, you know. So
I will say
he can start seeing the ball go in the net, I'm out.
I will say he has a good matchup to get back on track tomorrow with Batum, but
I agree, but shooters need to see the ball go in, you know.
I agree. I will let him have that good game before I roster him. So obviously LeBron is in play. Cleveland versus New Orleans. I love LeBron tomorrow. And then
we touched on LeBron. He's also 99 on DraftKings, which is a little bit easier to stomach.
I'm not touching Solomon or Cunningham. Durant is obviously in play against Waiters.
Yeah, no match for Durant tomorrow, but I think the same thing I said about Curry kind of falls into Durant. I mean, it's kind of all been the same narrative all year long. He's the prime candidate of the 4 to go off and hit his ceiling, though.
Yeah, Durant is clearly the number 1 option on that team.
Let me see what he did. I mean, these 2 teams played recently. I think
they did in Golden
State. Yeah, so Durant in 36 minutes had 28 points, 8 rebounds. So I don't know if that's ceiling worthy.
I like LeBron more than Durant.
I agree, just from a point total perspective.
And I think LeBron handles the ball more. And the fact that LeBron and Kawhi are on the slate, we're going to touch on that. We always talk about guys that handle the ball. You get 2 point guards and then LeBron and Kawhi. I think you're looking at a good potential right there. Looking at Houston and Milwaukee, Ryan Anderson, I believe, is going to be back tomorrow, which puts Ariza back at the 3, which means I love Ariza. Wing players eat against Milwaukee.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie from that perspective. I think there's a couple. He's definitely in the pool for me. I think there's a couple players I like more in that price range.
Aaron Gordon had 33 points against Milwaukee. No reason Ariza can't get that, and that would be around 6 times value. So
They played last week as well.
And I think he had a really good game, didn't he?
39 minutes. He only had 5. He had 5 points.
That's right.
That was 4 assists.
That was the game.
He was 1 for 7 from 3.
That's right. That was the game we thought that he was going to go off, and he didn't.
Yeah, I think we did a lot of Harden Ariza.
But that's okay. He'll have a bounce back game. Nobody on Atlanta. Nobody on LA. We're going to stay away there completely.
Definitely.
I'm not touching Paul George. I just don't think he has a high enough ceiling.
No, not right now. I mean, we know what his ceiling is, but he just hasn't gotten there this year. Carmelo, I don't know if I can trust playing up for the Knicks right now.
I struggle at 8,100 for him, especially with Porzingis back and healthy. No thank you to OKC. Gordon Hayward's going to have a tough matchup with Roberson. I think I'm going to fade that one.
Agree.
Joe Ingles is in play. He'll play shooting guard, but again, he's going to be going up against Oladipo, so tread cautiously.
Yeah, it makes me like Oladipo a lot.
Actually, that's true. I didn't even think about that when you were talking about Oladipo. I forgot he would be matched up with Ingles. I do like that. Ingles is no match for Oladipo, so Oladipo does come into play.
I think that could be quite contrarian.
Mm-hmm. And then my favorite play on this slate is Kawhi Leonard.
Whew, man, how could you fade Kawhi Leonard right now? He's
hot.
He is on another level. And he just dropped career high, I'm pretty sure.
And you talked about it before the show. Even in the last 2 blowouts, he's had back-to-back blowouts. And how many minutes did he play? 36 and 33?
Yeah, so the most recent blowouts, I guess, I just kind of did a quick scan. And the most recent blowouts for the Spurs, he still was mid-30s in minutes. And with all the injuries, I don't see how, if this game's a blowout, and we know the Nets will keep it close at home, too. So.
That's the other thing I was going to say. I don't think it'll be a blowout tomorrow.
No, I think the Nets have some players in good matchups.
And speaking of that, LeVert, they love him. And without Joe Harris again, I think he's obviously there's more minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they love him, but unfortunately, they don't really show it very well. They still are splitting minutes. Even though he's producing from a fantasy.
Looks like I'm back. All right. Give me a second. Let me get Mike back on here. Yo.
We here?
We are back. Yeah, my internet just crashed for a second, but we're back. The show is back online.
Sorry about that, guys.
We are good. I don't know what happened. It was definitely my internet that crashed, though. My internet just shut off, and there it went.
It's all these hot takes, man. Can't handle it. Someone just mentioned in the chat about Kawhi resting. Yeah, so as I said earlier, no one is safe.
No one is safe.
No one is, if you haven't learned that by now, no one is ever safe. But this is a prime matchup to be concerned about. And I don't think we're going to I don't know if we get the news before lock, so.
Looks like your video doesn't want to come up, Mike, so we're going to have to go without your video.
You back?
No, your video is just going to have to go for the rest of the night. I don't know why, but.
It's all good.
We're good. Let's get this back on the road. So we're at Kawhi, obviously. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see everything perfect, man.
You like Marcus Morris, and for good reason. He has a huge usage increase without KCP.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier when we were talking about Ariza, this is the guy I would rather play for that price. His numbers without Caldwell Pope are staggering, to be honest with you. I didn't know this guy really had it in him on the offensive end. And similarly to Batum, he doesn't need a score to really get you there.
Yeah, no, he does peripherals. Exactly.
So the boost on offense is really what has elevated his fantasy game. I don't think Caldwell Pope's playing tomorrow. He's listed as questionable.
I don't see him playing, though.
He practiced today, so soon, hopefully.
Hold on, my thing's freezing.
I'm not hiding. I'm here.
Why is my thing freezing? Hold on. My internet's just not very good tonight. Alright, we're back. We're just gonna...
Damn, some street racing going on.
Yeah, it's always like that out here. Otto Porter is definitely in a good matchup against Kid Gilchrist.
Yeah, so with Beal struggling to shoot, Porter has been the guy that they are finding open. And I noticed when I was watching the Knicks game, they were playing Beal on the second team a lot just to try and get him going. I think they had some Beal and Markieff on the second team, but Porter's definitely been the guy that's playing with Wall. And he's been hot shooting, so I think you ride him.
I agree. He's definitely the beneficiary without Beal playing well right now. So, hold on one second.
So,
adjust that. Get my screen
back. The last
here.
game, Porter didn't shoot the ball very well. He actually was only 4 for 13 from the field, so that's kind of concerning. But he's in a good matchup, like you said.
Cleveland and New Orleans. I like Kevin Love tomorrow as well. New Orleans terrible against power forwards, and Anthony Davis plays the center right now. They're slotting Cunningham in at the power forwards, so that's a great matchup.
I as I'm looking at this game, I wish I watched more of the last game. I saw the highlights the last time these two teams played, and it seemed like a sloppy game for Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that it was just a sloppy game all around. But I was wondering who guarded Davis. Part of me thinks that Love would guard him tomorrow. Not that really affects his offensive game, but it's something that I always like to consider is what they're doing on the defensive end as well.
That's true. I believe Kevin Love is playing. He played last game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Kevin Love should be good then. Anthony Davis, that's a hard fade for me. He gets hurt every other game.
Yeah, on this slate, when you have, I think, at least 6 guys priced over 10,000, he's definitely not one of the top ones I'm looking at.
Draymond Green is in a good spot in Miami.
Yeah, I think he is. I think his price is, I don't know. I'm not going there.
I'm not either, but he's in a good spot. James Johnson coming off the bench for Miami. He's getting a lot of minutes still. He's getting around 30 minutes off the bench, so I like that.
Yeah, his role with the second team and just with this team in general is pretty well defined as of late.
Mm-hmm.
I usually like to look toward power forwards against Golden State since they limit what centers can do, but we saw Hassan Whiteside really go off against the Warriors last time they played, so that to me is somewhat of a question mark when I'm considering Johnson.
It's fair. Ryan Anderson, I'm not touching. Jabari Parker is absolutely in play, though.
Yeah, Jabari's in play. Obviously, I loved his matchup. Last time these two teams played, I think he was like the first guy I had on my lineup. But he's just not been producing what his salary expects him to in the last week or so.
That's fair. I don't know if I can count on him to get 40 points.
Right. And
Paul Millsap is in a good matchup against LA.
Yeah, I think I'd rather play Millsap over Parker.
And then I can see Spates tomorrow as well if he starts again. He got 28 minutes last game.
Yeah, so Atlanta plays traditional two big in their starting lineup, so the Clippers are going to have to adjust. And so to me, that means we're going to see more Bass and Spates and less Wes and Mbah Moute.
I like Spates a lot. I don't like Bass, but I like Spates. Spates can shoot.
I mean, yeah, obviously I don't like Bass from fantasy. I'm just saying that.
I got you.
They'll have to adjust and add some more size to compete with Millsap and Howard.
If we're talking about matchup, Thaddeus Young is definitely in play.
Yeah, Thad is cheap. He's cheaper, even cheaper on DraftKings, and he lit up the Knicks last time these two teams played. Yeah, I think he's a pretty safe bet to get 5x.
All right, here's my favorite power forward on the slate, Enes Kanter.
Kanter, they're playing Utah?
Kanter was drafted by Utah. He absolutely hates Utah, and the fans hate him. He was blasted last time they played. The fans just booed the shit out of him, and he went off. So I love Kanter tomorrow.
I'll take your word for it. I wasn't on that play. I didn't really watch that game either, but I'll take your word for it.
And if Steven Adams doesn't play, even better.
Yeah, I don't think he is. Last I heard, he is back to playing one-on-one. Well, he's cleared for contact, is what I saw.
Mm-hmm. So watch for Kanter tomorrow. And then I love LaMarcus Aldridge, actually. I can go a full San Antonio stack, which sounds weird, but yeah, I can do that tomorrow against Brooklyn.
Yeah, there's definitely a mismatch there between him and Booker. So I'd much rather go LA.
Tobias Harris against Sacramento. John Lure, I believe, is back and starting, correct?
No, John Lure is back and playing off the bench. Last game, he was his first game back. He played 25 minutes off the bench. He slashed 10, 5, 2, 2, and 2. So played his normal role and should be like that going forward, in my opinion, unless something else happens. But
someone mentioned. Someone mentioned that if Adams is out, Gobert owns Kanter. Kanter won't start, for what it's worth. It'll still be probably Laverne or Grant, depending on who it is. They love Kanter off the bench. I highly doubt he starts.
Yeah, even so, I'm always cautioned of playing big men against Gobert. Mm-hmm. It's got to be the right price. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention something about Quincy Acee. I know if you guys have been watching the show, you heard me talk about Spencer Dinwiddie and how he earned his contract. Well, the Nets are like a major league tryout type team, and they just signed Quincy Acee to a second 10-day contract. They've been playing significant minutes, so I think that's something to look at going forward. I don't know if it happens again tomorrow, because the last two games where he played the minutes, one of the two bigs was resting. So, but it's just something to keep an eye on.
And someone has mentioned a good point. LaMarcus Aldridge might start at center, which makes me like him more. And then that also throws David Lee into the equation.
You know, I kept thinking with Powell out that in order for Pop to keep his rotations or to keep something similar to what they practice 5-on-5, they would want some more deadmen or some more, or putting Aldridge at center, but it hasn't happened.
Deadman hasn't played a lot. I believe he still is playing around 18 to 20 minutes. So.
Right, yeah. So it's just not happened, and so obviously Lee is the guy that's getting.
And he's getting good minutes too. Yeah, he's getting minutes.
So.
David Lee last game, David Lee had 36 and 33 minutes last two games. So David Lee is absolutely in consideration.
And I didn't watch much of that game, and I imagine David Lee against Tristan Thompson would have been a mismatch. I mean, did they adjust and did they switch Aldridge onto Thompson?
I didn't watch the game.
So that would be something I would want to go research tonight if I was thinking about playing Aldridge.
Yeah, that's fair. I like Aldridge regardless, though, whether he's against Lopez or whether he's against Booker. I like his matchup regardless.
Yeah, I think it more affects me playing Booker or Lopez. You
That's
know,
fair. That's fair.
like Lopez against Lee seems like a pretty awesome mismatch for the Knicks.
So, something to look for. If Lure is coming off the bench, Anthony Tolliver would have a good matchup because Anthony Tolliver no longer starts.
See, but even when he played 35 minutes, he could barely hit value.
I'm not saying he's a good play, but he's at 3,600, and Lure is absolutely awful on defense.
No, the on-court matchup obviously is his it's going to benefit him. Mm-hmm. But to me, if he couldn't do it with 35 minutes, how could I trust him
with 25?
25, yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're looking for really, really cheap, you can go there. I like Kaminsky more than Marvin Williams again tomorrow.
I've really been off of that. I haven't really been looking at either. So I'm not really well-versed in who's getting the playing time.
And then I like Markieff going up against Marvin Williams. Markieff has been playing well lately, I believe. I know he played well the last game that I saw. It wasn't it wasn't his last game, but the one before that. Let me pull up his game log. I hit 35 points last game, 28 the game before, 37 and 48. So Keefe is definitely playing well. I think another beneficiary of Bradley Beal struggling is Keefe.
Yeah, we talked about attacking the wings in Charlotte. So, you know, if you want to save some salary off of Porter, I think Markieff is a similar type of play.
Yeah. All right, and center. Let me zoom out real quick so you can see that. All right. I'm not really looking at Tristan Thompson tomorrow. Not against AD. I mean, it's not a terrible matchup, but
he struggled last time they played.
Yeah, there's better center plays for me.
I agree.
Zaza has been hitting value lately, and Hassan Whiteside is terrible. Does that law come into effect tomorrow?
Yeah, of course. I don't know if he's my favorite cheap center play. He's definitely a safer cheap center play.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm trying to pay down at center, it generally means it's going to be for like a tournament lineup to be contrarian, and I'd rather go with someone that has higher upside around that price.
It's fair. Whiteside against.
That's what I was asked. What about Whiteside?
He's risky, man. His price is high, and he has a tendency to flop. But the matchup is there. Golden State's awful against centers. Especially, they're the worst team over the last 5.
Yeah, I don't think you can consider him on FanDuel with Boogie. Not too much, only $2,000 more. But on DraftKings, he's only 7,700, which makes him a little bit easier to stomach. And like I said before, he really did go out and had a great game last time these two teams played. So perhaps the pace of play works in his favor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust it. Or him. I don't know if I trust him.
I think I'm going to stay away from the center situation in Houston right now.
I'm staying away too, man. Me too.
Greg Monroe, John Henson, that's back to being kind of a wishy-washy situation. I'm going to stay away there.
Agree.
Dwight Howard and DeAndre Jordan. That's going to be a battle tomorrow.
Yeah, so like I said, I like Millsap's spot. So generally that means I don't really want to go after Howard. And I really like what Jordan's been doing without
Paul and
Blake.
And his price is $8,400. $8,400. It's cheaper than it has been. It was up to $91 the other day.
Really? He's 79 on DraftKings.
It's rosterable compared to some of the other guys.
I agree. I like him tomorrow.
Miles Turner, I love against New York.
I do, yeah. So, but like we said, we really like Thad too. So can you stack that front court?
I'd rather go Turner than Thad.
I don't know. I don't know what I would rather do.
I like other power forwards tomorrow better. Like, I could go a David Lee, LaMarcus Aldridge stack at power forward tomorrow and be okay, and that would allow me to go Miles Turner.
See, I think I'm the opposite. I actually think you can punt Al Jefferson if you wanted to.
Al Jefferson, dude, we talk about points per minutes when we talk about Cantor. This guy's getting about 15 minutes a game, and he's been beasting.
Yeah, he's minimum salary on DraftKings. And last time they played the Knicks, he had 28 DraftKings points in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, like we were just talking about with Zaza, I think I'd rather go him for his upside.
And Al Jefferson's hot. He's hot.
Yeah, we've seen it limit Miles. Whenever he gets hot, whenever he comes into the game firing and is hitting,
Miles
it limits Turner's minutes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm staying away from the New York center situation. I'm not touching any OKC centers.
Far away.
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert's in a good spot.
Rudy Gobert is in a good spot. I agree. I think you can go Gobert stack tomorrow. I think his price is a little bit too high, just because it's inflated as to what he has been doing.
I bet you he'll still be low owned though, because you have Boogie and Whiteside on the slate.
Exactly, he'll definitely still be low owned, and you know how everybody likes to avoid Utah.
Yeah, he's just not a.
This game in general is going to be low owned.
He's just not a sexy play, but he gets it done.
He's a rebounding machine, man. If he gets the opportunities or rebounds, I think it's like his rebounding efficiency number is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Drummond against Sacramento is obviously a good spot, but I don't trust Drummond enough.
Yeah, whenever I see Cousins opposing, I always worry about foul trouble. And Drummond is no. He seems to be in foul trouble a lot. So.
Mm-hmm. I love Cousins against Drummond though. Love Cousins.
Oh, I love Boogie, man.
If I could somehow, I'm gonna try it. If I can somehow get LeBron, Kawhi, and Boogie, I think there's enough value on the slate to do that.
Oh, it's going to be awesome on DraftKings because he's power forward eligible on DraftKings.
Oh, you can get two centers in there.
It's legit having that. Same with Cat too. They're both power forward eligible for some reason on DraftKings, and it's been nice having that this year. And I mean, Cousins, it came out. Did you watch the end of that last game with Chicago?
That was bullshit, man. That foul.
Yeah, he was a wrecking ball leaving that game too. I read the comments after that game. He was like super sarcastic with the media.
Yeah, that's Boogie though. Like it's a love-hate thing with Boogie. Like you either love him or you hate him. There's no in between. No one just likes Boogie.
I love it, and so I mean, I think he's gonna come out hot and fired up, and
that's what he does. He comes out fired up.
I love it, man. There's not many plays that I love tomorrow, and I think he is a solid guy to get you 5x at that price. And I don't think you can really say that about some of the other guys that are 10K and above tomorrow.
I want to see real quick. I'm going to run it while we're doing the show. I'm going to run locking Boogie, Kawhi, and LeBron. My last center play that I like is Gortat against Cody Zeller. Absolutely a good play.
Could be. I don't know. I think we talked about a lot of other centers that I like much more than both those guys. Gortat, I don't think has been really putting up numbers lately.
He hasn't been, but the matchup is there.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about, like I said, there's like 6 or 7 guys that are 10K and above. On DraftKings, it's Harden, Westbrook, Davis, Giannis, Cousins, Durant, LeBron. I know you can throw Kawhi in there too.
Kawhi's 9-8, yeah. Like I said, the 3 I want are Kawhi, LeBron, and Boogie. I'm not touching Davis, not even close. Giannis and Harden I do like, but I think Kawhi and LeBron have similar upsides and projections for cheaper.
I agree. And so, like I always say, I picked the game to spend my money on, and tomorrow the highest point total is that Houston-Milwaukee game. So from afar, that would feel like the one to go after. But
Ooh.
I don't know.
Tell me what you think about this, Mike.
What's up?
It's very interesting. Okay, the very first lineup, it shoots back. Boogie, LeBron, Kawhi. And then it goes Kristaps, George Hill, Derek Favors. And then it's going to go San Antonio. Murray, Mills, and Green as the value plays.
Murray, Mills, and Green. I don't think you can play all three of that backcourt. Like I said, I think one of those guys is going to really go off.
Yeah, that's just what Excel shot back. But I would fade Porzingis and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe go down from Porzingis to Kiefer,
David Lee,
or Morris, or Lee.
Yeah.
Not Kiefer Morris, or Thad.
Yeah, there's definitely. I'm gonna run a couple lineups after this and kind of see what I can get. But it's definitely possible to get Boogie in there.
With all the studs tomorrow and most of them in good spots, I think tomorrow is a nice slate to play all the slates. If you're playing main slate, get 2 or 3 lineups in and try and get some exposure to multiple studs.
Yeah. The more I look at it, I think you're right. I would rather go away from Miles Turner tomorrow and go to Boogie. The more I think about it.
Let's look at the last game they played.
Boogie at Detroit?
No, the Knicks and the Pacers.
Oh.
This game was on January 7th.
Turner only had like 26 points, I think.
It was a 123-109 game. Pacers won. And nobody really shined. Oh, we had Thad Young. We had 16 and 9, but he had 6 steals. So that's kind of like that's not something to rely upon, obviously. So no one really had an awesome game. Like I said, we saw an extended run from Al. So I don't really think you can trust this box score when you're looking at tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Especially what Jeff Teague is doing as well.
I like Jeff Teague tomorrow.
I know it's tough to put my money on anybody in that game other than Jeff Teague. The more I think about it,
I agree with that. Jeff Teague is safe in my opinion.
He's the only one that's safe.
I almost wonder. I'm gonna run it real quick. I'm just interested. I wonder if you can go Jeff Teague and George Hill with those 3. It might be too expensive. Let's see. I'm going to run it. I already know it's going to throw Murray in there. And then let's see if it throws anyone else in there. I think you can because Hill is only 6,100. So you're not like throwing 5 studs in there.
Yeah, so like I think from just thinking about what we've been talking about here on the show, I think going mid-priced at point guard and paying up at small forward and center seems to be what we're looking at tomorrow.
This is what it's shooting back at me, Mike. So it's going those 3, Teague and Hill, and then Kaminsky, Murray, Tolliver, and Green.
Danny Green?
Yeah. Because he's
Not
minimum price.
On Danny Green.
The other one it has is this.
I could see it at minimum price, actually.
Look at this one. Cousins, James, Leonard, Teague, Hill, Kaminsky, Murray, Monte against New York. The matchup, I can see it. And then Tolliver. I'm not saying it's a... I mean, Monte and Green both have good matchups, so I guess you have to pick which one. If you want to run those 5, you're going to have to pick which one you want.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a little bit easier to build lineups tomorrow on DraftKings when you don't have to be limited toward 2 positions. 2 at each position, I mean.
Yeah. But like I said, the value for me is going to come from shooting guard and power forward tomorrow.
What are your thoughts on Kelly Oubre tomorrow at small forward going up against Charlotte?
Oubre's been getting minutes. Over the last 5, let me pull it up.
I'm just saying we're talking value.
Over the last 5, he's gotten 25 minutes.
Is he small forward or shooting guard on FanDuel?
Small forward.
Yeah, I think you can consider him. He's only 3,300 on DraftKings, so it's less than minimum salary. Or when you think about FanDuel,
the only problem is obviously if I want to run Kawhi and James, I'm not going to get Oubre in there. But yeah,
more of a play on DK.
So, well, shit. Thank you guys for sticking with us through the internet issues. We will definitely. I'm going to try what Jeff said and reset my modem every single time before the show. I think that might be a good idea, just to test out. Thank you guys again for the birthday wishes. It was awesome. Had a good time with my family. Just went back home. Mom made some lunch. The necessities, as always, Facebook business page up top. Make sure you're in there. Mike does his pregame locks and question answers before every day that he can. The Twitter, right there. You have the Facebook group. The email, of course, PayPal. And then the link for the sheets, obviously, is in the description. Make sure you're in that. Like I said, in the beginning of February 1st, the subscription launches. So if you want the grandfathered price, make sure you're already in that group. I'm sure most of you are. But if you're new to the channel, obviously you'll want to get in there. So just make sure you subscribe to the channel and join that group, and you're good to go.
Yeah, make sure you guys get in that group for sure. And if you're not in the Facebook group, obviously you need to get there as well. That's the only way you're going to get into our tournaments, so you can prove yourself to be the top phenom.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out our winners for today. Cowboy Forever 69 posted a top line of 305.5 on DraftKings in the Money Melee, and on FanDuel, Mondo 17 Acevedo had a 301 line. So congrats to you guys. I'm sure you guys won some money tonight. And if you guys want to compete for that title and for a nice prize package, you got to get in that Facebook group. It's the only way to get into these tournaments. But yeah, so it's just the important thing, obviously, for right now is to get into that Google group, get our spreadsheets and everything else that comes with it, and look forward to some big stuff. Right? We got
hell yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming, man. We're working on the
website.
Yep, that website we're getting there, man. We definitely have. We're drawing it up right now. We're getting everything rolling, so it's just a matter of time before we can get everything written in code. Obviously, we don't. Neither Mike or I have the ability to do that. So
we don't want to rush it out to you guys either. It feels very important to us that it's ready to be launched.
Exactly, quality over. I'd rather put out a quality product a little later than than rush it in the beginning. Someone just asked, how do you pay? And the emails are the ones that include the optimals and everything. Yes, and it's $250 a month for you guys that are already in there. And then to pay, I can take PayPal, Venmo, and Square Cash, which is the one on your phone. And then ideally, once the website is up, hopefully it'll be up within the first month, there'll be a credit card option as well. So hopefully after the first month, everything will be squared away and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, imagine, guys, that we'll be sending out a full detailed instructions on how to proceed in the next coming weeks. So just look for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then of course on the website. Oh yeah, Jeff, absolutely. Definitely interested in. I'm sure Mike would be interested in some help with the designs as well. We have a ton of things that we're working on designs right now, so maybe you can get in contact with us again. We'll work on that. But yeah, and then the website we're going to make sure that website has an optimizer on it.
Yeah, we love feedback. We love all the input. You guys are just as much a part of this as we are. So feel free, reach out, let us know what you guys want. This is an important time to do so.
Exactly. So, well, all right, guys, thank you again. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a